Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
That's what I want the intro to be. Me groaning like I've woken up.
It sounds like a bit of a posh groan, like a Prince Philip or like a like a ghoulish.
That's
like
him
a bit
yawning.
of a ghoulish groan.
Just imagine King Charles stretching in the morning.
Oh man,
One is working all those knots out.
yeah. I've been watching the Crown, and I made it up to season 4. And let me tell you, season 4, you have Prince Philip, Prince Charles, which you would have been at the time, and Margaret Thatcher. And the groaning levels are just like off the fucking charts with those three. It's just like constant. It's good though.
Oh, I've been sneezing. Sorry, I just sneezed over you. I'm worried I've got a cold or something today.
Everyone has, mate. Everyone has. It's half the country.
It's cold and flu season. Yeah.
And or I've caught a chill. I've been rained on. I'm run down. I'm weakened. My immune system is. I've not been looking after myself. That's what it is. I think.
I'll be honest with you. The kids have gone back after summer break. Takes a couple of months to really kick in. But once it starts, it spreads like wildfire. My eldest is never sick. She never ever gets sick. Never. She hardly ever has to take a day off school. She had 3 days off school this week. She was properly poorly. So, I mean, if she's getting sick, Jesus Christ.
Jesus.
Talking to Margaret Thatcher, apparently she never had a sick. I was never sick a day in my life. I can't do Margaret Thatcher.
I think she just had this crazy work ethic from having like a really, really boring childhood. Because I think her dad was a shop owner and an alderman, right? So
I think so, yeah.
She spent all day in a shop and then watched him write speeches and then went to the conferences where he would do his speeches. And
Just
that was her whole
exciting
childhood.
Stuff.
Yeah, really cool, isn't it? Yeah.
Hold on,
nice.
I have to ask Mrs. F a very quick question. It's all right, it doesn't matter if it goes out on the podcast. Love, that wasn't a vegetarian sausage and egg muffin, was it? Okay, good. All right. No, it's excellent. I was just saying the sausage was really good and I thought you tricked me again.
You remember what happened last time you tricked me?
She does it. She'll do it. She'll just give me a sausage roll and I eat it. She's like, that's a vegan sausage roll. Yeah.
It spices things up though, right? They say variety is the spice of life, right? Like sometimes getting pranked, it's just a little prank. Like don't worry about it.
I think they're the marks of... They're little marks of love, though. Those things.
Oh yeah, no, we love to mess with each other, but very subtly. Like we don't prank at each other and stuff like that.
Did we talk about this on the podcast? I can't remember. I was, for some reason, loads of people I was hanging out with started talking all about their love language.
Love language?
Well, like dirty talk.
No. So there's this thing called love language, which you're supposed to be a specific archetype.
Oh, right.
What makes you fall in love with people, or how people express their love for someone. Right.
Huh.
And it's kind of this slightly bogusy ideas, but the 5 are compliments, like words of affirmation. So it's like some people love that, and some people love giving that. So it's different. Spending quality time. That's the second one.
Right.
The next one is receiving and giving gifts.
Right.
Which
does
is
a fat
interesting.
load count as a gift?
I was gonna say, like, when you're doing it like on somebody's face and you say with my compliments.
Oh my god.
Does that count?
Is that a gift?
I don't know. That depends. And then acts of service is the next one. So that's like, I guess doing the laundry or something. And then physical touch is the last one, which I think by default everyone seems to think that's the thing they like.
It's just the best one, honestly.
I honestly, I've been married for 20 years. I've never thought about any of this stuff. Like
No, I wouldn't break it down. I'd say it's a combination of all of them.
It really is just a combination of all of them.
Yeah.
I feel like with a lot of this stuff, and maybe this is not a great take, or maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of this stuff comes from people who are, have had a successful relationship or are happily married, but they just can't help themselves but to like give people advice that is never really going to work, sort of thing. Like imagine somebody really taking all of this on board and then trying to robotically become a well-balanced version of all these things rather than just being themselves and meeting somebody who accepts them for just being themselves.
I don't think it's trying to force people to do something different, but I think basically that he says that in order to discover someone else's love language, you must observe the way they express love to others, analyze what they complain about most often and what they request from their significant other most often. And people tend to naturally give love in the way that they prefer to receive love. Right. And couples can have a better communication if they demonstrate caring to the other via the other person's love language. Example would be if a husband's love language is acts of service, he may be confused.
He may be a cuck.
He does the laundry, and his wife does not perceive that as an act of love, simply just performing household duties. Right. The love language she prefers is words of affirmation.
Oh, right.
So he needs to express his love to her.
All right,
I guess it's like listen. Here's
no,
what
you listen.
Do. Just do them all the time.
No, you listen.
And then it's like a crapshoot. You go on. You go, P-Flex.
All right. So all of this shit that talks about how you need to analyze this and change your behavior, that if you guys are together and it's not going well, I don't think you're going to be able to actually genuinely turn it around in any meaningful way and suddenly adjust the way you do things day to day all the time, because you can't just do it for a couple of weeks. But basically saying you need to analyze this and become a completely different person. Yeah. Otherwise, this relationship isn't going to work. I would suggest the relationship isn't working because you guys just aren't getting along and it just hasn't worked out. How about that? Rather than saying, we need to fix this. It's not a fucking carburetor. You can't just take it apart, fix a couple of bits, oil this, grease that, and put it back together. It's just not working. That's it. And if it does work, you don't need to fucking analyze it.
I think there is a lot of people who are unhappy in their relationships, but they're staying together for the kids, or they want to stay together, but they've got distracted by something, either some sort of negative hobby, or like, I don't know, just watching too much porn, or God knows what it is, right? That's caused them to like fall out of love with each other. And the therapy and couples counseling is a thing that does bring people back together and can revitalize a flagging relationship. I'm not saying that we should chuck it out the window, but I think that there's definitely an element of that, P-Flex. You shouldn't try and be fake to... No.
I just think, can you really keep that going?
I think it's hard to get to the point where you have to do a complete reversal of things that have happened, which is
change your personality.
Really hard for most people to do. Let's face it. Like, most people will not just change a huge aspect of their life on a whim.
But also, even if they try to change, dude, I mean, can you really maintain that? Here are some things I think
like the damage has kind of been done by then too, right? Like, if you're at the point where you've recognized, or your partner's recognized, that you really need to change, it's going to take so much work to undo.
It's going to be so hard.
It sucks, right? Like,
I think honestly, in terms of marriage counseling, I know a few people who've gone through this. I think the main thing is the resentment builds up over unspoken bones of contention, right? So there'll be some problem between you two that isn't being talked about. And if it all comes out, everybody gets very emotional, and it can get out of control very quickly. The key, I think, is in any kind of situation where a relationship is struggling, is if you get a third party, like a marriage counselor, say, to essentially mediate. What needs to happen is the airing of all the dirty laundry and the cobwebs and all the rest of it. Once that's come out and you're saying why you're frustrated, that's how people start to come back together.
Yeah.
And whatever you guys, when people got together, whatever it was in the early days, it will have changed over time because, I mean, like, you and I are in the same boat, Chris. We've been together with our partner a very long time.
Yeah.
And we've gone from being just goofy kids together to being responsible adults with children and mortgages and shit like that.
Yeah.
You're not the same person.
No.
Over that time, you've changed.
But neither is your partner, because the two of you, hopefully, in that time, will have evolved together, right?
Right,
and become
But you've been
stronger.
through so many things together. So many key moments.
It's never perfect, though. Like, I wouldn't say that it's perfect for me. I'm happy. Like, things go well a lot of the time, but there's still things that are not like a problem for us, but there's definitely like issues, external issues,
100%
that crop up time and time again. But we're so used to talking about them and dealing with them that even that evolves, right? But it's ongoing. It's not just like, okay, we've solved this and we're done. And we're never going to talk about it again. That's
very
not
much
healthy
like,
either, right? Like
we're also problem-solving guys who want to look at a problem and be like,
well, that's the thing.
If there's not a problem, we're not talking about it. And if there is a problem,
how do we
fix it?
I'm really interested in fixing all of the problems. But no, there's always stuff. There's recurring things for sure that we've just, like I said, we've gotten used to discussing at length, and we know where we stand on it. But it's something. It's like, it'll be something that's a trigger point for one of us where, we threaten to go off on one and the other person will have to, you know what I mean? There's tons of little things like that, right? And it's just, I feel that that's just what a relationship with another person is like sometimes, right? There's
give us an example of something. I want to find out what your love language, or you think your love language might be according to this book.
I don't think mine lists that.
Give me an example of like something that you do loving to your wife.
I tell you what I think the key to our relationship, right, is that she makes me laugh and I make her laugh, and I try to make her have one big laugh every day.
Yeah,
like really, really make her laugh at least. That's a good one. Yeah, and it's not like I go out of my way to do it. I'm just that funny that we're hanging out. But it really, I think that like laughing has been the biggest thing that we've shared. Is we have a very similar sense of humor. Yeah, and we have. I'm sure you have the same thing, Sips. In jokes that only you two know, and they can go back fucking decades.
God, yeah.
There'll be some moment that you've both shared, which is like, oh my God, this is so funny. And it just stays with you. And just referencing it makes you both laugh.
For sure.
Like, I love that. I have one of my favorites, one of my all-time favorites, which I'm not going to share. I guess I should.
It's a private one, yeah.
Well, it's not weird. It is funny. I'll tell it to you guys. Okay, so this is a relative of ours. I'm not going to name any names. Was driving us. This is when we'd recently moved up to London, and this relative has had a pretty closeted life, I'd say, if that's the word. Like quite sheltered. Hasn't really sheltered.
In a bubble.
Yeah. Hasn't seen many black people in their lives. Is how I'd put it.
Right.
The relative is driving us in the car, and it's quite a narrow London street. And another car pulled over to let us go past, and the driver of this other car was black. And as we went past, the relative slowed the car, wound down the window, and said,
and
"Thanks."
Yelled out, "Are you from Africa?"
No, he said,
a little callback there
he said, "Thanks, man." And I've never heard this relative use the term man in my life. So I think he said, "Thanks, man," because the guy was black. And we say that to each other all the time. It's just so funny.
Oh, that is funny. Right. Yeah. Little things like that are great. I think with me and my wife, it's like lots of little things now. It's a lot more practical because of where we're at right now with having so many kids and stuff, right? So it'll just be like really little things. Like if my wife gets back from like being in town with the baby or taking the baby to like a lesson or something like that, I make her tea. And that's enough. She's just like, oh my God, I just needed somebody to make me tea. Honestly, when I got in. It makes such a huge, it's such a huge deal. I know it's such a small thing, but I like that somebody's got my back in that sense.
Oh,
and it's just, it's like the smallest
Mrs. F
thing.
brings me a cup of tea. That's it. I love her for the whole rest of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Likewise. I'll just be sitting here streaming or whatever, and she'll just bring me tea, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is fucking fantastic.
This is the best. Yeah.
And so, very occasionally she'll bring like a mini Twix or something as well, and I'm just like, fuck me. Like
sometimes, like Mrs. F just got on a Friday. We quite often get breakfast brought in, when delivery or whatever. So she got me a sausage and egg muffin from Leon, which is actually really good. I love that. I fucking love that. It makes me so
just
happy.
Really simple things like like we just like to when the kids are gone to school and the baby's sleeping, we'd just go somewhere and get a coffee. And it's just like, oh man, even just like for 5 minutes, it's just like, fuck, this is so great. Like this is such a nobody's British asking me a question or whatever. We can just have a chat. Honestly, and even if we're not talking about anything overly important, it's just nice. We can just talk about a show that we're watching or
but don't you find that like, that's the other thing is like, I can talk to Mrs. F. Like we can just go out to dinner, just us, and even though we live together and very little happens that the other isn't aware of, we could talk for ages.
Do you ever have those times where you're just like you get really caught up in talking about something, and then you're like you look at your watch and you're like, holy shit, it's like 2 a.m. Like we should really go to bed.
Not for a long time because Mrs. F goes to bed very early.
Yeah,
9:30, 10 o'clock.
It doesn't happen so much now, but like it still does happen occasionally. But it's kind of nice to think that you could be married to somebody for so long and spend so much time day to day with them and stuff, but still have a ton of stuff to say to each other. I don't think I've ever had like a really awkward conversation with my wife or anything either.
Same.
Like it's always been, because we're pretty upfront about stuff. Like if stuff bugs us or whatever, we'll say it. Like, you know, like she'll just be straight up like.
Do you think that's the language of love? I think for us would be honesty and humor.
Trust as well. That's what I would say. Trust. You have to trust the other person that you can just be yourself around them,
right?
Not feel like you're going to be judged or But have somebody.
That's the thing. That's the key thing, right?
Yeah.
Is being yourself. And I think a lot of these self-help fucking things are telling you that basically you need to change your behavior to make this work.
Yeah,
but that's my point. If being yourself isn't working out, it's not going to work out because you can't be someone else the time.
If you can be yourself and meet somebody who genuinely loves you for being yourself, it's the best, right? It's the best possible outcome, but it's such a great feeling too. Like you never feel like I don't know. I guess some people just feel like really like desperate or down in the dumps with their relationship or whatever. But like I've never felt like that. Like I've always felt like, you know, my partner has my back no matter what. It doesn't matter what it is. Yeah. Like even if it's really like, you know, out there or like controversial or whatever, I feel like she would have my back. And it's just nice to know, right? I think she feels the same way about me. Yeah.
I think like a lot of people say their partner is their best friend as well. And I think that is definitely something that I've experienced as well with my most recent relationship. And I think that was quite hard to process, you know, falling out of love with someone, but still being very good friends with them. You know, I think it's hard to. I think it's definitely nice. I think one of the things you said, Sips, was really nice. Like, you know, that they won't judge you or be critical of you. You know, I think that's definitely a red flag when you see these people in relationships. I don't know, kind of being mean, it's like a little bit mean to each other.
A little bit,
but obviously, like there's meanness and there's meanness. You know, when we're best friends, God, the things we say to each other in Dota, holy crap.
Yeah, well, I mean, but the thing is, like, even sometimes if they judge you or are critical of you, you know that it's not like that's not the final word in it, right? Like they're reasonable enough where you can have a discussion and come to like an agreement or a compromise on it as well, right? Like it's not it's knowing that that's also possible, and I think that helps too. You know, it's not just like this you're condemned, I've judged you or I've been critical of you and that's it, where like there's nowhere we can go from here sort of thing. I've never felt like that either. You know, I've always felt like I could explain, you know, to my wife and say, you know, like there'd be some reasoning with it, you know, like there would be some reasonableness about it.
All right, I got a question for you guys, and this is kind of similar. How often do you find yourselves being too trusting? And I'm not talking about relationships. I'm not talking about too trusting of your partner or whatever. I'm just saying, how often do you find that you believe other people more than other people seem to believe other people?
Probably more often than I should. Like I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt, you know? Like I don't know if my judge of character immediately is great. You know what I mean?
Right.
My wife is insane with this. She'll meet somebody and within a moment, like she'll have formed some opinion about them or get some feeling about them. And I'm not even kidding. She's always right. It's insane. Like anytime I meet somebody new, I'm always like, hey, you got to meet my wife. Because I it's like passing them through a test. Like it's like doing the trader test on TTT.
Like when the Terminator comes into the underground human base and they've got those dogs there.
Oh man, yeah,
you should have your wife there. He's a Terminator. He's a fucking Terminator. Yeah,
and she's never been wrong. Like if she meets somebody and she's like, I don't know, like they seem like there's something about them, like they're off somehow or whatever. They're always off. Like it's insane.
I have a similar kind of thing where I meet people and I just don't like them. And I think the main reason is I can tell very quickly that they don't like me, it's really obvious when people don't like me because it's hard to like me. So when people meet me and don't like me, they can barely conceal their contempt. So I'm like, well, I don't like this fucking guy.
Yeah.
He clearly doesn't like me. So that's that. We're enemies now. And I'm never going to talk to this person.
I don't know about you guys, but most people I meet, I feel like they don't like me. And I've gotten to the point now where I just don't give a shit. I was
No,
like,
I don't give a shit.
like if
I just
if
know
you
to
if
avoid
you
this
like me
person.
or you don't like me, it's no consequence to me whatsoever. Like
Right.
you have to put up with me for a second while I talk to you, and then we can move on or whatever. But like I always get like weird, I don't know, like some strange like vibes from people. Like I don't know. Like I always feel like people are friendlier to each other than they are to me somehow. Or
Yeah, I know what
maybe
you
I'm like a
mean.
narcissist or something. I don't know, but
No, I think it's just, especially because of the job that we do, which is like there's people watching us all the time. I think we're all quite acutely aware of. I mean, I streamed yesterday for nearly 8 hours.
right.
So I'm on camera for 8 hours, which nobody fucking has to do that ever unless they're like being watched in prison or they're, I don't know, a streamer. Like I can't think of any other jobs. So I kind of get acutely aware of how I'm perceived because of that. Like years of that, being on camera one way or another, being on a panel or whatever, you scratch your nose and everybody sees it and all that kind of stuff. So you kind of have this acute awareness of being looked at and evaluated by other people. Yeah. When I'm streaming, I'm not thinking about that at all. But your subconscious must be thinking about it. So maybe when you're meeting people, you're evaluating how they're evaluating you. Like you're spending too much of your brain effort on
mirror
that.
here, right? Like I think you obviously like the love language thing. I think you project your own insecurities onto other people and assume that just because maybe you don't like other people, they don't like you. I think like I can see why, and certainly I know a lot of people, and there are reasons why I wouldn't like them, but I don't really think that there's many people in real life that I dislike actually at the moment. I think I am very trusting, and I try and assume the best of people, or at least like to the point where even like a negative Twitter or a negative tweet or a negative YouTube comment, some people can't help but rise to that fire, and they read the worst into it. Whereas I read that person is stupid or a child or joking
or a stupid child
or or it's a bad joke or that it's something I've done. The way we talk to each other, oftentimes, people talk to me in the way that I talk to Duncan and Simon and joke with people like that. And obviously it's inappropriate like to do in person, but I never think that they're like that. I can see why people wouldn't like me as well. I can understand why I would rub people up the wrong way because I'm fairly blunt and I make stupid jokes and I don't necessarily. I don't know. I think watch for myself.
I actually think you're a fairly charming person. Like you're good. You got nice interpersonal skills. Like you're not like awkward or anything like that. Like some people are just like fucking painful. Like
you talking to Lewis right now?
Yeah, no, I don't find Lewis too bad. Or maybe I'm just used to him now. I mean, I've known him for a long time, so maybe I'm just used to him. But no, I don't find it. I don't ever find you like awkward or anything like that.
I think I'm definitely overly trusting of people. I think I really do like give people the benefit of the doubt, and it's led me astray, but it's also the opposite too. I think it's helped me more than it's hurt me because there's only a minority of people who actually are scumbags that I've come across, and I think that even that is they should have known better, or they let their animal urges or whatever get the best of them. You know what I mean? Yeah, I feel like in a sense it was more that they were just again a bit poorly educated or like just not sure. I don't know, like lured away and went in a bad place. Everyone makes mistakes, right? And in these days of internet cancel culture, it's very easy to forget that we used to be able to forgive people, but now everything you do and everything you tweet is written down and just there forever for the world to see.
Against you, yeah.
So here's why I asked, because I suddenly had, when you have a memory of something from fucking years ago, and even if it's something that's kind of embarrassing or whatever, it was so long ago and you were so young, you kind of give yourself a free pass, and you're like, well, I didn't know better, I was just a kid. I've always been very, very bad at spotting when people are obviously like lying about something, like a story that's so ridiculous that I should be able to see through it straight away.
Yeah.
And I just believe them, especially if they're a friend of mine. I'll believe
You want to
them.
believe them, though, right? Because I think it comes back to just giving people the benefit of the doubt. You know, like even if
I agree, Sips, but
then
you haven't
remember-
heard how fucking ridiculous this story that
So
I
okay, so then what happens though?
boy, I'm ready.
Right, I'm looking forward to it, but take this with a pinch of salt because people always exaggerate their stories to make them sound better, and then they tell those stories again and again, and then they eventually become corrupted and.
Well, way to go.
They think
way to ruin the podcast. Like every story.
We've done this.
This is a whole podcast is us telling stories that get spicier and spicier every time you retell them.
If people look through our 10 or 15 years of broadcast history, they're going to hear many different versions of the same story. And I will swear blind that the latest version is the true one.
Yeah, for sure.
So
here's how it went.
Stories get better the older they get, right?
I guess I would have been about 13, maybe 14. And my friend Keith there's a name you don't hear anymore.
No, you do not see many Keiths anymore.
No,
you're right.
My friend Keith in school told we really wanted to get into LARPing, right? It was a relatively new thing. Very few places in the UK did it at that time. Like there were some, but it's now, I mean, The Gathering and all that kind of shit. It's like thousands of people across Europe coming together for these big LARPing events. It was still considered like pretty out there. And as we were young kids, we couldn't exactly go off and do this stuff by ourselves. We didn't know anyone else really. There were some people in the class who would have done it, but there was no way we could do it. So my friend Keith told me that he did regular LARPing, and I was like, oh wow. And he told me where it was. It was like somewhere in Bournemouth. Out in the sticks a bit in Bournemouth. And I was like, what kind of costumes? He goes, oh yeah, you have to wear a costume, but the monsters don't wear costumes. The monsters are holograms. Okay. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, they're like projected. Like they project the hologram creatures. Right. So you fight them. And if you hit them, they'll the hologram will change, like it will react to the hit. I was like, really? He goes, yeah. So the other day I was out with my mates, we're LARPing. We're patrolling through the forest and I see a goblin up in a tree and it looked like the goblin was there because it was just a projected hologram. And I was like, wow, this sounds amazing. What I should have said was, wow, this sounds like absolute fucking bollocks. Why am I believing this? For months, he strung me along, telling me a little bit more about it.
Right.
I arranged to go and meet up with him. He kept cancelling at the last minute. It never occurred to me that he was full of shit. Until eventually I just must have stopped talking about it. I can't remember. There was no showdown where I was like, you're fucking lying. It's just like, who believes that? Holograms, fucking holograms being projected. And this is just some local LARPing group in Bournemouth. This would be on the fucking news that people have figured out how to project holograms that look like life. Like, we can't do that now.
No, can you imagine they could do that now, though? Man, those LARPers
it
would
just be VR, right? But it was like... I actually believe
so
it.
Now, do you have like
it occurred to me that I must have been very stupid back then, and I'm worried I'm not less stupid now. Am I still capable?
Is this a trigger point for you now? Like if you detect that somebody might be lying, do you have a flashback to Keith?
Keith telling me about his fucking hologram love?
Yeah, but like almost like they can't stand you, you know, like you have like the memory of him like laughing with his yellow ass teeth, saying that there's projected goblins in the tree, and you just like...
No, I just feel bad, man, because Keith was a good lad. He was just, he had a lot of troubles at home, I think, and I think his escape was making shit up.
Lying.
Almost like a fantasy world, and telling you about it was kind of inviting
how Keith's life has been.
I know what he did after school.
Well, what did he do?
He managed the sex shop in town.
Okay.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I think there's an element of that in everyone, right? A certain childlike imagination. But also I think there's this kind of slightly addictive thing when someone is paying attention to you and they're like rapt and they're like hanging on your every word.
Exactly, yeah.
There's this allure to like carry on going. And there's this like, you know, if you could make someone laugh, then you don't want to stop. You want to just keep, you know, it's kind of this addictive thing, right? It's this high.
I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit weird in this sense, but when people start acting like that around me, I'm kind of done. Like, I feel like I've conquered them. You know, like, if you're hanging on every word I've said, I got nothing else to do. Like, I don't need you anymore. Like, it's the pursuit of, you know, like, I'm trying to win people over. Once I've won them, I'm done.
Chase,
I'm
not
out.
the...
Yeah, I don't know. Right. Maybe you guys aren't like that.
That's your love language.
Yeah.
I mean, you're absolutely right about stories getting better the older they get. So me and Simon, went out this week for the first time in like 5 or maybe even like 7 or 8 years. Like Simon and I are obviously very close friends, but we see each other about one afternoon a week where we hang out and do a podcast and chat about stuff. And it's about the right amount we can both handle of each other, you know. It's like we haven't got a lot in common, but we do get on very well, and we have a very similar sense of humor. And Simon had been telling me for some time, this is very unusual, had actually been communicating with me and saying, make sure you're free on Sunday at 6:30. And so he, warned me a week before, then he warned me the day before, and then he warned me the day of, as if I was like not going to turn up. But he wouldn't tell me what I was going to do with him, right? What we were going to do together. So I turn up outside his place, and we went to the Bristol Tobacco Factory, which is a theatre, old, very hipstery theatre, and Brian Blessed was doing a charity sort of evening with Brian Blessed. Amazing. So 80 minutes of him talking, right, basically. Kind of very unscripted. He's done a few of them before across the country for raising money for these Nepalese charities that he's involved with, because he's been up, he's been to Nepal quite a few times, and he was actually up Everest. Like I think he's climbed Everest 4 times.
Wow,
Brian Blessed.
Anyway, show off.
He is a spectacularly unique man, and he sort of had this meandering. He's 86. And he's got 86. This huge history. He was obviously in theatre and film for a lot of his life, but he became this adventurer. He walked the North Pole, and one of his stories was he was walking. And I know I shouldn't tell this because it's his story, right? But I feel like this is an example, right? I'm using here. One of his stories is he was walking to the North, and the 8 minutes was peppered with things exactly like this. Unbelievable stories. He was walking to the North Pole. Okay, as the oldest man ever to walk to the North Pole, he was 73, and he was with this little group, and he was walking across the ice, the magnetic North Pole.
Yeah,
and here's this like rumbling and this sort of cracking and this sort of humming, and it's like, what the fuck's going on? And to the right of them, the ice starts cracking and breaking, and it's a fucking Red October Russian icebreaker submarine comes out of the ice, right, and surfaces. And obviously they've spotted these guys on I don't know, satellite or something. They've seen them. So the Russians get out and they come over, and they sort of talk to these guys. And one of them, who's the officer, looks at Brian, is like, could you say Gordon's alive? And so Brian has to it's like imagine you're getting recognized by the Russian guy.
Can you sing Diggy Hole for me?
Exactly, it's like that. And it's obviously an absolutely banging story. And it's almost too good to believe, right? Mm-hmm. If it wasn't coming from him, it's almost too good. And there's so many other ones like that. Like he's met, these incredibly famous characters. He went to Bristol School. So he had spent a lot of time talking about how he was at the Old Vic Bristol Theatre, and Peter O'Toole was his friend.
Right.
Obviously a famous actor, and how they would like bully John Gielgud and like slap his ass and like jump out on him and stuff like this. And he met Agatha Christie. Of course, Agatha Christie, incredibly famous as well. And he told a story about how Agatha Christie told him she had to get this custom pair of knickers made so that she didn't chafe her ass on all the camels she was riding in the Egyptian, excavations that she was going on with her, 15 years younger than her husband kind of thing. So their sex life wasn't interrupted by the chafing or whatever. It was very... and obviously he was in Star Wars. He's in all sorts. He's in everything. He's done it. He's met everyone.
He was in Star Wars.
He met George Lucas. Told him he was fucking boring, apparently.
Oh,
and he had to spice it up. So he was Boss Nass in the.
He was the.
I didn't even realize.
Terrible.
I know. So he's done all sorts of stuff, right? But one thing that triggered me was and Simon like looked around at me at this point because we were just having a good time. He was talking about how he loves space. He kept going back to space, and I guess because he's an explorer.
I love space. I love space.
He does exactly like that.
It's so fascinating.
This is it's like we're here. And he would not go on about the James Webb Space Telescope. Okay, so go on, Brian.
About it.
Tell me about the James Webb Space
Telescope.
Telescope.
The James Webb Telescope is floating out in space. It's just near the sun. It's a telescope, a James Webb Telescope. Oh, I say to my wife, I said, we have to go to the James Webb Telescope.
That's exactly the kind of
so
thing.
So I put on my walking boots and off we set.
So he actually says that the James Webb Telescope has been capturing messages from alien.
Right.
And the aliens have been talking to us.
Right.
And of course, me and Simon looked at each other like slightly concerned.
Just slowly, like the place starts emptying out.
Just pick up my coat and just walk it out of here.
He has lost his mind. Let's go.
The aliens have been communicating with Mr. Webb for some time. It's his telescope. I called him up. I said, James, it's Brian. What have the aliens got to say for themselves now?
I don't know if that's even a good Brian Blessing.
That is actually brilliant.
Hilarious.
It's
but
perfect.
you know who it is.
I know who it is. Yeah. Oh fuck me, man.
It was a wonderful time. I think Brian takes himself very seriously, as you obviously all have to. But he's also aware that he's someone who's basically said yes to everything for the past 50 years, and as a result has done a ludicrous melange of garbage.
What he was in? What commercial was he? Not Go Compare, but it was like one of those stupid ass comparison, the meerkat ones. Or he did something like that more recently as well, didn't he? I seem to remember. Or I don't actually remember because I'm struggling. Guy.
But most recently he's been doing the voice of Granddaddy Pig in Peppa Pig, right?
Oh shit! Is he? Does he actually do the voice for him? For Grandpa Pig.
Yeah. So that's the thing you will know him for. But yeah, obviously just so interesting and also weird.
It's weird.
He's a character, right? One of these old British eccentrics. He's very unique. There's no one quite like him. And I think it's his sort of old theatre background and this idea of his booming voice. But he's full of memes too, right? Like, people meet him and they're like, oh, do the Gordons alive? It's very almost like it's a one-hit wonder with a couple of these things.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty cool.
Had a good time.
That sounds fun.
The other thing me and Simon did this week, which was a twofer, is I've been telling everyone about this, but basically, Sarah, who is
go to TwitchCon.
Have you met
Sarah Talk?
Sarah Talk, Talk from she's in the office now, and it happened to be on a Wednesday afternoon when Simon was in. She said, "Oh, Jaffa Cakes have done." Oh, well, it was actually Krispy Kreme have done a Jaffa Cakes partnership, and they've done a competition to do the best TikTok. So Simon and Sarah were like, "This will be hilarious. Let's enter the competition. Let's make some dumb stuff." So they did. They submitted it, and of course, they were the only person who submitted anything, so they won.
Nice.
And the prize was to visit the Jaffa factory and see where the Jaffa cakes were made, which is obviously very funny to us, but also something we don't really want to do, right? And obviously the competition is really designed for a taste master, right? The idea is to find some kid or someone, some eccentric weirdo in Britain. It's on TikTok, right? So you're looking for a kid, really, who loves Jaffa Cakes and wants to go and see how they're made in the factory, right? And it's a nice day out for him and stuff. Anyway, of course, we won it. And we won it because we had the most views. I think there were like one or two entries by actual kids, and they got no views, so they didn't win it. They maybe they would have done, but so I felt a bit bad about that, but not that bad. But obviously, it was like because Sarah and Simon and the Yogscast had won it. Like, who gets the prize, right? Who gets to go? It's like one person. So we talked to the guys, and they were like, "Well, look, Simon doesn't want to come down to drive across to Leicester or wherever the Jaffa factory actually is,
What? Why?
So, well, Simon doesn't travel very well.
It's not that far. Come on, Simon. This is like once in a lifetime, man.
Yeah,
I know.
Jaffa cake.
Inside the factory, he could have done his own.
He
episode.
could do better than Greg.
Yeah,
Greg fucking Wallace.
He's not Brian Blessed. He doesn't just say yes to things. Anyway, we basically arranged it so it will be the flagship store in the Bristol area that we'd go there, and because they make all the Jaffa donuts in the back, and it felt like this weird blend of a brand deal where we're on our best behavior, but also we're technically prize winners, so they're being nice to us, and they're not sure what we're allowed to film. And so it became this kind of slightly odd, not awkward, but we were both treading quite carefully about, not saying anything bad about Krispy Kremes, but not just promoting it, not doing everything they, not just completely going down the marketing spiel route, So yeah, we tried to be authentic as possible while being polite and while being nice, because they were very nice people. This nice lady came down from head office who was obviously head of Krispy Kreme marketing in the UK to be sent there from America or something, I feel bad for those executives who have to, be sent from head office to run some country, some country's presence there. But she was nice enough. And then they also brought one of the chefs who sort of makes the new donut recipes and has made new donut recipes for the last 10 years.
Right.
So they were really, really nice and chatted with Simon and chatted with me. And
Did you ever think at any point that you could have
experience.
just been like at home in your undies playing computer games instead?
Video
Always.
games.
I'm always thinking that, even when I'm at like GDC or anywhere, anytime when I'm at the shops, I'm just thinking, man, I could just not be doing this right now. I could just be.
Well, I had exactly that yesterday when a man was shoving a staple gun into my ass for half an hour. So,
Good
And
Lord.
in other news, how'd the hospital appointment go?
it was fine. Would you like to go on a journey deep into my ass? Do you want me to walk you through it?
No.
Just in case you ever
Oddly
need to
enough, I
have a
don't.
biopsy, a transrectal biopsy of the prostate is what it's
Do you
called.
know what? The name alone, I don't need to know the details. I'm sure this is something I'll have to do at some point.
No, I hope not.
I would rather go in blind and just not know what's coming. Just.
Honestly, I think knowing what's coming makes it easier to handle. It's not bad. It is not that bad. It's a little uncomfortable, but so the whole point of it is that they put a probe into your ass. It's an ultrasound probe that's got some instrumentation on the end of it.
Is it like the one that, and I'm sure you've had this where they put it up the lady's vagina when she's pregnant to have a good old look-see around there.
Possibly.
Because that's a big bad boy right there. Like,
well, the thing is, you're on your side.
Can we go back to talking about Jaffa Cake Donuts? This episode is not sponsored by Krispy Kreme, but I'd rather talk about those delicious chocolate rings than whatever rings we're talking about right
chocolate
now.
ring,
man. You don't want to hear about this? It's like kind of
I do.
interesting.
I want to be reassured that if I do have to do it, I won't be scared off. Because I think a lot of people talk about these things in a way that I think my dad had a similar thing. I think he had a prostate biopsy as well, and he was like, "Oh, it wasn't as bad as I thought."
No, it is. It's not as bad as you think. But I think the big thing for me was that there's a bit of prep. They give you antibiotics that you need to start taking the morning that you're about to have it, because if your prostate gets infected, it can be quite bad. But there's a really low chance of it getting infected, especially if you're taking antibiotics. So I had to take an antibiotic, and the thing that I was dreading the most of the whole thing was I had to give myself an enema at home.
Wow.
And I didn't know much about enemas, except for I think I'd seen somebody having an enema on one of those
with red wine. Yeah.
No, not
chocolate
a red wine enema.
or like coffee or whatever.
No, it was on a TV show like Embarrassing Bodies or something like that. And they just had like a big tube in their ass, and you could see all the chunks of poo coming out like in the water and stuff. And I thought, I'm not doing that at home. It's going to go everywhere. There's going to be shit all over the place, or at least water with, contaminated by shit going all over the damn place. It's not. It's fine. You get like this little squeezy bottle with like a little nozzle. You shove it in your ass, and then you just squeeze the liquid into your ass. And surprisingly, it just doesn't drip out. Your ass just keeps it, retains it. It just fills you up with this like water with chemicals in it, and then 2 minutes later you just take a normal shit. It's just like you just like piss water out of your ass for a little bit, and then your bowels just empty out, and it's fine. It wasn't like messy or anything.
This is the stuff they don't teach you in school, man. They don't teach you this shit.
I mean, the thing is,
they don't
like,
teach you like
I
how
did
to do your
that. I was like, holy
taxes.
crap! Like all those times I was constipated, I could have just done this and saved myself like a whole bunch of a whole bunch of
I don't
pain.
think I've ever been constipated in my life.
Oh, I have. It's rough. When you finally do go for a poo, it's like a basketball's coming out. It's
I think
insane.
yeah, I
Never happened to
definitely
me.
err on the side of runnier rather than stuck.
I used to be pretty runny, but now I'm finding now like it's more. The older I get,
It's thickening up.
the more
Well, that's
constipated
the old fiber
I tend,
balance, the old fiber seesaw.
I tend to be.
Not too much.
I said try to take some Metamucil, I think. But anyway, so I did that. Went in. They just give you a gown. You have to take all your clothes off. They give you a gown. They lay you on a bed underneath a big X-ray machine. You're facing away, and it's nice because there's like a nurse who just stands there with you and has a chat with you because it's a little bit uncomfortable. But they put some numbing gel all around your beehole, and then they put an ass pill, another antibiotic into your ass before they put the probe in. And then when they put the probe in, they inject some local anesthetic into the prostate, which feels really weird. But
Wow.
once it numbs it all, it's fine because then they've got this spring-loaded apparatus on the end of the probe that basically just stabs your prostate to take tissue samples of it, right?
Yeah.
But they have to take 8.
Oh,
A minimum of 8. So it takes a little while, but the sensation is so weird. Like you hear this click, and it sounds like somebody's like firing a staple gun into your ass. But then the sensation, you can feel like this like shooting sensation all up your penis, right to the tip of your penis. It's really weird.
good lord.
Yeah, it's like a vibration deep within you, but like not a pleasant one. So this goes on for like 10 minutes maybe. And then he's just like, okay.
Did you get a boner?
You're done. No, funnily enough. Because I thought, like, with all this, I've had, like...
Asking the important questions
Yeah.
that someone...
It did occur to me. I'm thinking,
No, because you hear about this, right? You hear, like, people like, oh, sometimes when they stick their fingers in your ass to check you or whatever, you can get a boner. Your dick, like, retreats into a cave. Like, it goes the other way. Like, you feel... The whole process of somebody examining you and sticking their finger into your ass and stuff is just like the most anti-sexual feeling you'll ever have in your life.
I think I'd get a boner from that.
Yeah, but you're disgusting.
No, there was no boners were occurring. So anyway, after the thing was done, I just have like a really short course of antibiotics to take. And also,
I'm just saying it's okay.
Because my prostate's been stabbed like 8 times, there was a bit of blood in my pee. And I'm expecting a bit of blood in my poo. And apparently, for a little while, there could be a bit of blood in your cum as well.
My God.
It's like you're
Right.
a vampire or something.
Yes.
And the blood's leaking
For
out.
a
My
little
God.
while.
Jesus Christ.
But-
So when you said I'd feel better about this process,
It's not
having
bad
heard
because
about it,
when I got home, I peed,
and
and there was like a little tiny bit of blood at the end of my pee. And since then, I peed like 4 or 5 times, no blood.
All right,
Good
Tom,
Lord.
prior to this going out, insert this small warning, okay?
What?
What you're about to hear is fucking gross and scary.
No, it's
and
not.
we will tell you when it's over.
And well, you didn't have to go through it. I went through
No, I
it. It's
know.
fine. It's fine. And
Okay.
honestly, I would say because I think this month actually, funnily enough, is like officially or maybe unofficially prostate awareness month or week or day or something. It was recently, but it's really not that bad. And if you do need to get checked, don't let that deter you because, like they say, because you guys hear about Bill Turnbull recently?
Is like step
BBC
5
News.
or whatever.
I do know
I mean,
about Bill Turnbull. I was never a fan.
He died of prostate cancer. He's
He
quite
did,
young.
yeah.
He was only in his 60s, and but he was late. He was late to go in and get checked and stuff too. And I don't know if he had been earlier to get checked, if it would have changed things or whatever. But it's still best to get in early. So if you notice any change in your regular habits or whatever, it's better to just go in and get checked.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, you're also deeper down the path of your higher risk, because they've flagged up a few things with you.
Yeah.
let's hope they don't.
Yeah,
don't
hope
find
not.
anything too serious.
So next month, related to the issues I've been having, but not so much to the prostate. Next month, I'm gonna have a miniature telescope inserted into the hole of my dick. So that'll be really fun too. Apparently, that is fairly unpleasant. And
this is like fucking couples therapy for us, though. This is it. You're getting all of this stuff out. We should. You should,
do you know what I'm hoping?
Telling someone else
I'm
this
hoping
stuff.
that they give me a really good check over. They find something that's not overly threatening, maybe something I just take a bit of medication for or whatever, and then I don't need to have it done ever again. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if I get a lot of this stuff out of the way now, maybe I won't need to be prodded too much later on in life. You know what I mean? Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully. But you never know, I guess.
I've been working hard on Jingle Jam. Reach out.
Good for you. Good.
I've been working hard on that, and that's been stressing me out a bit. It's been nice to be able to tell you about this stuff, you know, and just let out some of my frustrations with people. I think that, I don't know, I'm always quite, maybe we're too public about these things, you know, but I feel like this is for me, like
it's like a behind the scenes look,
my rant session. Yeah, you know,
you get a nice behind the scenes.
Yeah, like I just, it's constantly like bewildering the responses that I get from people, and so interesting. You know, I'm just not used to it. I assume this is what it's like for anyone who works in marketing or anything like this. But I just thought it would be more predictable. You know, I thought the responses would be more predictable. You know, it would be like these people do that say, there's a group of people who say this, there's a group of people who have problems with this. But no, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm enjoying
sometimes
it,
you just gotta take the rough with the smooth. You gotta know when to hold them and know when to fold them. And before you know it, it'll be, you know what? It'll be fine. Like I feel like the whole thing runs
a big one
itself
this year
at this point, right?
Jingle Jam.
It's like been going for like 10 years, right? Like, come on.
There's already $900 worth of games in the bundle, so it's bigger than last year already.
Nice.
It might be our biggest year, I'm hoping.
Holy crap.
It's gonna be
well, don't hype it up too much.
You know that we're all over it. Like, I love Jingle Jam. It's one of my favorite things to do. I look forward to it more than I look forward to going to TI. Hands down, no doubt. I fucking love coming down to Bristol, doing all the streams, hanging out with y'all. I fucking love it. And I love the fact that we look at how much fucking money we've raised, and it's just like, wow, I've actually done something worthwhile with my life. This is good.
Something I could be proud of. Something I could turn around and not feel shame when I explain to my kids what I was doing all that time out in the garage. You know, missed birthday parties, you know, standing out in the rain after soccer practice, nobody picking them up, like all those times. And that here I am, just
crying in the bath,
Bobby Digital,
with, like,
playing on my computer, but it was worth it.
Yeah. Well, holy crap. I'm glad we did this.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got it.
I'm glad we did this.
Thanks for suffering through my torture story as well.
Oh, fuck me. Yeah.
I hope you guys can sleep tonight. Thinking about my poor asshole. It's been through the
ringer.
It's been through the ringer. Yeah, that's it.
Literally.
That's it.
Yeah.
Have you guys been playing any video games recently? Can we talk about some games quick?
That's a good idea.
Just briefly, we could talk about some games. I played Destroyer U-Boat Hunter.
Oh, nice.
Last week. That was a sponsored stream, but I was going to play it anyway, which is a happy coincidence.
Right.
Because I played a lot of U-Boat, where you're the commander of a German U-boat.
I like those games. I like a game like
great.
that. Yeah.
You should try it. It's really
There's
fun.
a game
it's
called...
quite fiddly.
I think it's like Barotrauma or something like that.
Barotrauma, yeah. So that's more of a cartoony version. This is more...
That was in Jingle Jam last year, and that's more of an Among Us.
It's kind of like a submarine survival game, though, right? Don't you have to like fix
So
the
this is you're just the captain of a sub, and you control the crew, and you like, you know, tell them to go to this depth and prepare this torpedo and all the rest of it. So it's good. The Destroyer game, you're the destroyer trying to hunt the subs.
Oh,
and it's very complicated, but once you get the hang of it, it's not that bad. But it's really, really well done. It's very dramatic, and they've added this sort of theatrical element to it, so you do really feel like you're in a movie.
Yeah,
I recommend it. It was really, really good fun. But I've also been playing a game. I normally don't go for games that are like this, but the name is Solasta, Crown of the Magister.
I saw you playing that. I didn't actually tune in, but I just saw it come up in the category.
It's like a D&D 5th edition rules RPG with, the proper D&D style combat, turn-based, you hit this, you use that spell, use these items and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
It's quite hard, but it's good. And I was looking for an RPG to get my hands into. That's what I played. I streamed for 7 hours and 40 minutes. I thought it was like 2 o'clock. I look up, it's nearly 5 o'clock. I was like, holy shit, I better stop.
Nice.
Properly got into it. Because Baldur's Gate 3 is not out yet. And if you look at the polish on Baldur's Gate 3, it looks unreal. Like all the cutscenes, the acting, the characters, everything looks amazing. This is like, it's a finished game, but it feels like it was made by like 3 people.
Oh, so maybe it was.
The voice acting is pretty bad. Yeah. The animations are pretty bad, but they've got a really fun little game, so I've really enjoyed it.
That sounds great.
So Baldur's Gate 3 is out. It's early access.
No, it's not.
I mean, you
can only get to a certain point. I don't want to start. Right. And also, people are saying it gets to a certain point, and then it's like there's been a big new patch. You've got to your save files are fucked. You've got to start again. Like I'm going to wait till it's 100% released. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think there's a lot of gameplay there though. I did like 30 hours or something, and I was fine. I think it's good. Yeah, I'm hyped for it. The thing I've been playing this week is Railgrade on Epic.
Oh, I heard of that. Yeah, is that any good?
It's on Epic Game Store. It's made by this Japanese company, and it's basically it's a classic puzzle-y train game, right? Where each level it's old school, right? In a sense that it's level based, right? And so you almost start fresh every time. You have industries like coal and power plants and iron and mines and steel and all this crap, and you have to link them together like Transport Tycoon style, but it's really, really quick to build the railways. The way the game works is you get rewarded based on how quickly you do it, which isn't that fun, but you have like a prep phase at the start, so mostly you plan out what you're doing, you build most of the infrastructure straight away. It's so quick to throw up trains. There's a lot of different trains that can handle like the slopes, like really high gradients. That's a big part of the game. Right. And actually, I think it's pretty fun.
Cool.
It's not the best game ever, but I like trains, and it's very pretty. And honestly, like for me,
I like trains as well.
A bit easy,
like steam trains.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of games on Steam called like I don't know Train Valley or something like that. Like there's a bunch of
Sweet Transit
is
meant to be pretty good
exist. Too. Is it Train Valley 2? Yeah, Train Valley 2 on Steam is basically Railgrade but less pretty. I love those puzzles though, and I love watching choo-choos,
choo-chooing, just gently choo-chooing along.
Do the junctions and do that, and it's just very slick, and so I recommend it. If you,
listen,
like trains.
I have been playing. I've been back on PlateUp actually. I've been playing with Hafu again recently, which has been fun. But in between I played a bunch of other games. I played some Dome Keeper, which is really good. It's really fun. It reminds me a little bit of like Dig and Rig, but it's you got a dome that you have to defend at the top. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I played another game called Brewmaster Beer Brewing Simulator, which sounds pretty bad, but it is really good. Yeah, I did a hashtag ad on it, which was really nice actually. Like to do a hashtag ad on a game that I thought was really good. Surprisingly,
it is a rare thing. Yeah,
I'd never played it, and it was that. It was really nice.
Like, don't you find like sometimes you get approached to do a streamer game, and I just think, well, this is going to be a chore, but I'll do it. But like, I got one, I think last year to fucking play Tarkov. I was like, okay, I'll fucking play Tarkov.
Of course,
it's just when that happens, it really feels easy to do it.
I played Overwatch 2 for a bit when it released and uninstalled it.
I didn't even know that come out.
I did, yeah. I played a couple of matches. It has not changed much from the from Overwatch. It's still Overwatch, and I just thought, man, life is too short. I'm not spending another minute playing this miserable game. and feeling like shit while I'm playing it.
Oh, fucking hell.
And so I went and actually found something fun to do. And what I did instead
Which was
I played,
have a fucking enema.
well, that was more fun than playing Overwatch. But also,
I'd rather go wash my
I've been
arse
playing
out
a game called
than play this game.
Brotato, which is
Brotato.
It's like Vampire Survivors. It's a Vampire Survivors sort of game, like
Oh,
where you,
Oh yeah, okay, sure.
in between
There's
waves,
so
you
many of
upgrade
these
your,
coming out.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They're really
popular.
fun though. Brotato is super good too. Lots of like really fun challenges to unlock, like new little potato men, and
This honestly looks like the last thing I would ever play. Incredible.
It's good though. If you like Vampire Survivors, though, like I would say, if you didn't like Vampire Survivors,
I did not.
don't bother. But if you like those kinds of games where you have,
I found it so addictive. I like the auto battling,
the auto battling,
limited controls, and just choice.
And having to go for certain builds to like get achievements or unlock other things or whatever. There's tons of that in Brotato. Like there's like a pacifist run. There's a pacifist character who has no damage, but like you can build him up to be very fast and tanky. So he has to run around, and you make your money by having things survive to the end. So like when the wave ends, everything dies, and that's when you get your money. So it just like completely flips the gameplay around, and there's I'd say there's about 20 different potatoes, all with their own like unique abilities and downfalls and stuff, and it's really good. It looks like a Flash game, but it's awesome. This is the hot
thing on Steam. There's a one called Soulstone Survivors that's coming out soon, which has been all over Reddit, and it's basically, the idea is it's a Diablo meets Auto Battler meets this,
style. They are really good fun. I like them a lot.
And there's,
do you guys want a recommendation for another Auto Battler? My friend's son's fan, Dota fans will know him. Him and Jenkins, who's another Dota guy, made a game called Ability Arena, which is kind of like Dota Auto Chess.
Oh, this is in Dota.
It's in
Dota.
Dota.
We talked about this
it's
last
a custom
week.
game,
I don't think
right?
we did. Because
I definitely played it based on your recommendation.
Okay, well, it's free. Dota is free. If you guys out there want a free game that is a lot of fun and nothing like Dota, and you don't really need to know a lot about
chess.
Dota.
It is auto chess.
You select abilities, you build abilities for your lads, they do battle. It's good. It's a good little game.
It is good. Me and Xylus have been playing it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's good. It's hard.
It is
and
hard.
honestly, you do need to know ability
You need to know
draft.
a little bit. Yeah. You do need to know a little bit.
Like, you need to know the Dota abilities.
But I think the fun thing about those games is figuring them out, right? Kind of like Brotato. You figure out the builds.
Yes,
like
you figure it out.
It's trial and error, but then it's really satisfying when you get a build that works and you pass it.
So I won my first game of Ability Arena the other day.
Did you?
Yeah, and I've never won before. I've come like third and stuff like that.
Sure.
But I won one. Had the build. If you are listening to this, Essence Flux, which is the ability that every time you cast a spell has a chance to give you mana. The Gaben version of that, the level 9 version of that, extends your range and damage and all the rest of that. And then I had Wild Axes, which is the Beastmaster ability, at the Gaben level, which has no cooldown. So my Rubik just stood at the back going, zoom, 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 just axing, doing like 10k damage, won the game. Like single-handedly, those two abilities won the game. It was nuts.
Finding
when
like
you,
a
when
broken
you get
combo.
that build is really fun. Yeah,
that's cool. That's the cool thing. I think that's probably what I'm doing wrong. Is I'm not looking for those max level.
Oh, you've got to go for
OP
the Gabens.
combos.
That's key. Don't just buy abilities. Like quite often, I'll have a lad who's got one ability. Like he's just got Ravage, and then he dies, and I don't care. The main thing is you have one lad that is just like super fucking OP, and you spin through the spell lists trying to get him as good as possible, because quite often that one guy will win you the fight. He's so strong. It's like having a carry in Dota.
It's like Dota, yeah. It's like a carry.
Can I just say
good
a
advice.
final thought before we end?
No, sorry, that's our time. It's a 1 hour. No, I'm just joking. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So this is just occurred to me. When, and I don't want to come across as sexist here or generalizing or anything else. I believe this to be the case in most cases.
Shit.
Go ahead and cancel me, Sif. You get on the
my fingers hovering over the cancellation button.
Okay, get ready
right
for
now.
the cancel button. When blokes who are mates with other blokes, right? When your mates are going through a breakup, you might just go, "Don't worry about it, mate. Play more fish and say, let's crack on," and you get on with it.
Yeah.
There's no counselling, there's no cuddling, there's no long talks about it. It's generally just going to be 10-minute conversation at most.
Oh,
for most blokes,
I had a few of those. I had a few cuddles.
Right. I know, but I'm saying in general. I think more often than not, blokes won't discuss relationship problems with their mates in anything like the terms that women will. So, for example, if a woman's going through a breakup, her girlfriends are expected to like be there for her and back her up and hold her hand and get her through this and stuff like that. And I personally think, that sounds much healthier than what blokes get. And one of the best examples I got of this, the other week I was watching the Wrexham documentary about how Ryan Reynolds and that other guy bought Wrexham Football Club. And there's a scene in there, in the pub, in Wales, in Wrexham, and one of the lads says something, "Oh, where's your bird?" Blah, blah, blah. He goes, "Oh, no, she's left me, mate." And his mate goes, "Oh, fucking get some box of tissue over here for this." He's crying his eyes out. "All right, come on, let's get a pint in." And these are mates. And I thought that's pretty much how blokes handle it, is to just make fun of it and then ignore it and pretend it doesn't happen, which is obviously not healthy.
And drink it away, yeah.
Get a pint in you, mate. You'll be fine. And I just thought that's weird because I've never had to like be there. My friends never called me up in tears and be like, "Oh, please, he's left me. You need to help me." Like it's just not a thing that blokes do. Like you might have a chat about it.
Well, I think again,
I'm always
it's
happy
context,
to do that.
right? Like if you're the one who's brought it up and they've gingerly mentioned it, then that's the right response. Whereas if they've brought it up to you, they're obviously you can then like probe and ask them gently if they actually want to talk about it. And
right, but don't you think in general you're not as a bloke expected to sort of be there for these moments?
I think it depends what they want, right? Sometimes they just want to not think about it, so
but
they
that's
don't
not
want to
healthy.
bring it up.
That's my point. Is it's deeply unhealthy, and men bury their problems and don't rely on even their best mates.
Right. I see what you're saying.
Like it's not
but
healthy.
I think there's got to be a mix of the two, right? You can't think about it and lament about it all the time. At the end of the day, the only thing that can heal is time, and so our memories, decay quite quickly, and within a couple of weeks, you're thinking about other stuff. I think. We're quite easily distracted, is what I'm saying. Go into cyberpunk or run a submarine, and we can. You need that, right? Sometimes as well to help you through you need to stay busy. That's one thing they always say. Oh, you've got to stay busy. Because it distracts. But that's just that's just the same thing as distraction, isn't it? Just a different kind. It's also it's a good feeling to achieve things to make. I've emailed 1,000 people for Jingle Jam this year, which is an achievement, and I feel good about it. I think it's pleasing to sit on that and say, I did my best. And I know that's sometimes that it's not easy, because a lot of the time I will be like, oh, I'm just going to just not do this today. I'm just going to play games or watch TV or do something else instead. But then I have the old thing of, oh, I feel bad because I'm not doing it. But yeah, like it all feeds back into getting it done makes the rest of everything better. I think I enjoy watching a movie more when I don't have the washing up to do as well. Like all those subconscious hassling things annoying me.
Don't you have like a member of staff that can do that for you?
Oh, maybe. But then I feel bad about asking them to do that.
What, do
I'm
the
not
fucking
that
job?
kind of person.
Yeah.
Do your fucking job.
Wash this.
We all pitch in.
Wash this.
Fucking job, son.
Everyone. I don't like taking advantage of people either. I think that's the other thing that bothers me.
I don't want to take advantage of you, right? But do your fucking job.
Shut it.
Just stop mugging me off. Stop mugging me off and do your fucking job.
You want to have a little cry about it? Get the pints in, lads.
Get a fucking box of tissues over here for crybaby. You won't do his fucking job.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Guys.
Bye.
Nice podcasting. Good big ups for another huge podcast. Well done, guys.
Yeah, fucking massive.
Round of applause. Well done.
Cool.
All right, let's go.
Take it easy.
See you later.
That.
Be good to each other. We love you.